Here's the thing. Good morning. Welcome everyone to the start of this week. This is the final week. The suffering this season is almost over. This weekend will be the last match against Athletic Club de Iloao with farewells. As Arbeloa said, there will be players saying goodbye. He didn't mention names. Also, Carvajal has reached a milestone number of matches with Real Madrid, and we'll go over that now. But anyway, it's going to be a week of confirmation about Mourinho and, well, an analysis. End of the season, which, well, we've already done. We've already done a lot, and I think we all have it very clear. But now we're entering a period of transfers, of rumors, starting with the coach, and of conclusions. Y de conclusiones. And look, yesterday I wasn't going to pay much attention to this because I said, look, Mbappé is playing. Arbeloa already said it the other day in the press conference when Mbappé had caused trouble, right? Going out earlier to talk to the media in that mixed zone and all, hurrying to do it before Arbeloa spoke. We already explained in the videos everything the French footballer wanted to achieve with that. And well, his coach saw it, but he downplayed it and didn't want to make the situation worse. And he said, well, look, I'm a big Madrid fan. I want to stay here. And if I leave, I want to come back and so on. A club loyalist, just like we've been saying. And then in the press conference afterwards, Arbeloa said that thing about, no, I just ran into Mbappé and I told him I'll take care of it myself. No, he's the one making things very clear to you and to the club and staying ahead of you and anyone else when it comes to communication. And I would almost say even ahead of Florentino, because it was a challenge to Florentino. Florentino had held a press conference a day or two before. Do you remember? It was already historic where he said, there are problems at Madrid and no, I'm the center of attention. Let it come back to me. And he kind of took it away from the locker room. Mbappé managed to turn it back towards the locker room and even made it about himself. But anyway, the thing is that after watching Mbappé play against Sevilla, I didn't give it much more importance. And after all, Arbeloa had already said Mbappé would be a starter. And well, that's it. We already talked about the match live, how it went with Benitez's goal. By the way, Mbappé once again failed to score in the last few matches. He tried several times and couldn't manage to get a goal. And that's how he's going to finish the season, with just his last match left against Athletic at the Bernabeu. We'll see how the Bernabeu receives him there. Because remember, the other day it was with Pipa. After being in the spotlight for that trip with his girlfriend to Italy, but the Bernabeu will receive him later if Mbappé plays. We'll see. After the mess following the match against Oviedo and his appearance in front of the media and his confrontation with the coach. Let's see how the Bernabeu reacts. But you know that since it's Madrid's last match of the season with farewells like Carvajal's and so on, I don't think there will be as much of a referendum on him as when Ancelotti, Modric and Kroos said their goodbyes. Well, Kroos's farewell happened in a very successful season, so the festive atmosphere was bigger. But even Ancelotti's and Modric's farewells in a bad season, well, since they were saying goodbye, that last match is always treated differently. I'm just remembering now, when Benzema said goodbye in that last match against Athletic, I've talked about it too, by the way, and he was leaving as well. I think Asensio was leaving too, along with a few others. And well, that was a bad season too, and people are mostly there to applaud, and well, in the end, they forget the grudges a little bit, but this season has been so tough that we'll see. The thing is, and this is my point, I hadn't given much importance to the fact that Mbappé was playing because we more or less already knew. But after listening to Eloy Lesina, who, well, I often mention here on this channel, right? He has tweets and opinions, which I really like because he usually hits the nail on the head. He says, hey, have you noticed that Mbappé and Vinicius have won their battles against the coaches this year? The key point was that Mbappé started against Sevilla. I thought, wow, that's true. That's true. And he's absolutely right. Mbappé made sure this clash happened. If he hadn't wanted it, he wouldn't have had it with Arbeloa. The same with Vinicius and Xavi Alonso. If they had accepted the pecking order and were normal players, and if Madrid were a normal club, also in the sense that they know that with the president, they wouldn't be able to challenge their coaches. so they wouldn't have done it, but they feel strong enough to do it. And they ended up triumphant. It's unbelievable. And that doesn't say much good about Real Madrid. And that's the terrible epilogue we put on this season. Mbappé with Arbeloa, Vinicius with Xabi Alonso. Hey, you'll tell me they did it differently. One did it in a very Machiavellian way, and the other is all heart, whatever. The point is that they were forced into that standoff, that fight, and both of them won. Because Vinicius started the next match against Valencia. Xavi didn't risk benching him. He realized his future at Real Madrid would be tough since the club didn't support him. And Arbeloa, because he says, for the little time I have left here, I mean, why would I get into more trouble, right? For one reason or another, the players have won. And that's very bad news. And we ask ourselves, what is Mourinho going to do when he comes? What is Mourinho going to do when he comes? Can he fix this? I think if there's a man to fix it, it's definitely him. I've mentioned it to you in previous videos. I don't focus as much on the sporting side, even though in the end, that'll be the most important thing later on. At the beginning, you have to bring order there. And I think there's no one better than Mourinho for that. No one better. But it's very sad that we have to turn to Mourinho now to fix this, because it says a lot about Real Madrid as a team and as a club. It isn't normal. Madrid should be thinking about a coach who's currently in his prime, who has a different playbook and something else to offer. Still, we must depend on someone from the past, an approach that already worked out with Ancelotti. I mean, what I'm saying is that this is a sign that it could work out again with Mourinho. Let's see. And hopefully it does. But I don't know. It's not very encouraging at first. Now, if Mourinho comes and manages to convince them, and he's a specialist at surrounding himself with Spartans and people who believe in his project, because there's something fundamental here. Madrid has a better squad than many of the teams that are currently outperforming Real Madrid on the pitch. The key is that those teams believe in their coach and believe they can win things with the coach's idea. At Real Madrid, people haven't believed in the last season under Ancelotti or in Xabi Alonso or in Arbeloa, and that's the key. If someone gets them believing again and cuts out the nonsense from both of them, people claim Madrid must sell one, but I assure you that's not true. Because Florentino says, but let's see, I'm not going to let go of two of my main assets. The two main assets that Real Madrid has in terms of marketing, merchandising, and so on, who are great players, and the coach will have to manage. Florentino won't do it. He's not going to go along with that theory that I have to sell one of the two for the sports side to work. He thinks that the sports side has to work and that they need to come to an agreement among themselves because the business side is unquestionable. That with these two guys, you can't do without either of them, because that's exactly what we always say. He prioritizes business over sports, and not because he looks down on sports, but because he believes one leads to the other. Although there are many of us who think, especially at this point right now, that it should be the other way around. That first you have to function well, you have to create a healthy locker room, maybe sacrificing some individual talent for the good of the team so that victories come, and with victories come titles, and with titles comes business. But I don't know, that's not how people think. Now, is Florentino capable of turning this around? Yes, because he has already done it on other occasions. Even trusting Mourinho also, I want to think positively, but it's tough because making changes in that gym, in that locker room, is complicated. Valdano said this last night on Movistar Plus. Remember, like many others, Valdano wasn't expecting the situation with Mourinho. Many people are having a fit of hysteria about it. When the host asked Valdano about possible names for the Real Madrid job, Pochettino prompted a long answer. Klopp another, and Scaloni yet another. When he talked about Mourinho, we saw on the channel that he said Mourinho was a thing of the past and moved on, but now Mourinho is coming. That's what Valdano said.
Exactly. Within Florentino Perez's project, which considers football as a business of heroes, he is not going to sell the heroes. That's it.
Well, he's basically saying what we were saying, right? I mean, first of all, it's Florentino's business. How am I going to sell these guys, right? Get it together and play well because you're really good. That's what Florentino thinks. No.
Sure. As for Mourinho, I think he's going to show up with his most charming face, and at the beginning, everything will be very, very smooth. I think the players will respond well since there's no Club World Cup this time. I suppose the preseason will be a bit more demanding, and that will help the squad perform better. Well, let's see what happens as time goes by and when the defeats come. If peace will be possible or if we will continue with this somewhat turbulent situation we've experienced this season, right? We have to wait. Anyway, Mourinho can't fix this on his own. In Madrid, they need at least four defenders. They need a midfielder who can bring balance to the squad. I mean, Mourinho will be part of the solution, but not the solution.
And he's absolutely right. The sporting side matters too. They need new signings and some must leave. Now let's discuss some, but I have to remind you of something. In the same way that I tell you there may not be a better guy in the world to fix the current Real Madrid locker room than Jose Mourinho, I also tell you that during Mourinho's seasons at Real Madrid, even though there was a lot of cohesion inside, during one or two seasons, there was another season when the Real Madrid locker room was a complete mess. Remember when he took Ozil off and then Ramos came out with an Ozil shirt underneath, Casillas the mole? I mean, there were some crazy messes in there. The last year was terrible. The 12-13 season was terrible. They lost the league in the first few matches. So Mourinho isn't a magic fix either. It's not a magic fix. But anyway, like I said before, we've reached the point where we see that the most necessary thing is him. And this should make us think about what we are as a club. Maybe that's why we have 15 Champions League titles and all that. We're so special, right? Not every coach is good enough for Real Madrid, right? Anyway, that's what Valdano thinks, that not only Mourinho can fix this, but at least now he includes him in the equation after seeing that they're going to sign him. By the way, one thing. Rui Costa, the president of Benfica, says that Jose Mourinho is the coach until proven otherwise. No, of course, Marcos Silva hasn't put himself forward yet. I think they're talking about another coach. This is Benfica. Well, of course. The thing is, they're keeping things a bit under wraps there. So they have a contract extension offer on the table for Mourinho. They know that the Madrid thing is unstoppable, that Mourinho wants to go to Madrid. And Madrid only has to pay 3 million euros, so they pretty much consider him as good as gone. But he's acting tough. And besides, here Benfica won't be able to do what they do with the players. In this case, of course, the cost to get Mourinho out of there is 3 million euros or not, and they don't sit down. It cost Carreras, right? They really pulled a fast one on us. But anyway, speaking of players who are going to say goodbye, Carvajal played his 450th match in Seville. For me, Carvajal didn't play badly at all. He played well. I said during the Viga Viga broadcast and on Enclave Selección that it makes me angry he wasn't included in this preliminary list, even though he may not have earned it on the field in terms of minutes. Damn, I see other national teams making exceptions for certain players. And I kind of miss the fact that since there's going to be a support group, more players go to the national team camp at first, like they do with other national teams. And then they cut 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, however many they need to. Well, I kind of wish De La Fuente had called Carvajal to see in person how he was doing. I don't know. If he doesn't see him that bad, he's a player who, with his experience, could have made the World Cup. But I know some of you will write to me saying not for leadership, because he's not a good captain, because he doesn't bring the team together. Anyway, I don't know. I think for the 2024 Euros, Carvajal was very important, and Spain won among other things. They had a better team, played a great tournament, also because of the leadership of certain players, among them Carvajal. But anyway, and then the other one is Camavinga, who reached his 100th victory. Carvajal has played 450 matches for Real Madrid, and Camavinga has 100 victories with Real Madrid. And he talks about, well, next season, we have to win everything again, and so on. I mean, Camavinga might be in a reality where he thinks he can stay at Madrid. But as far as I know, Madrid is going to want to sell him this summer, because this guy is going nowhere. And the last thing I wanted to mention is this about Tiempo de Juego and Partidazo de Copa. It's just pathetic. When Vinicius celebrates, he puts his hand to his ear a bit. All footballers do this. We're back to the same thing. I don't want to go on. We've said it many times. It's always the same old thing. Only with Vinicius can you make a tweet like this. Vinicius celebrated toward the San Luis Juan stands and was nearly hit by a bottle. What do you think? But since when is it a matter of opinion and not something to be condemned, as Salva Martin says here, to throw a bottle at a player? But how is it possible that they throw a bottle at a player and luckily it doesn't hit him, and it was full of water too? I mean, it wasn't an empty bottle and with the cap closed, right? The bottle was closed. And post a tweet like, did you see that? Did you see the gesture Vinicius made? It nearly hit him. What do you all think? So people can say, well, he always does the same thing. No, this isn't up for debate. Sorry. It's not up for debate. We're in the same situation. But I'll tell you something else. There are friends, just to leave you with that for a bit. There was someone who commented on Vinicius' celebration and then ended up getting insulted. Well, we all agree, right, that it was a racist insult and we had to protect our player. And there was someone who complained about his celebration. You know what? The next coach of Real Madrid, Jose Mourinho. Come on, man. Anyway, well, I hope everything goes well for you. Give it a like if you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel, comment, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.